Hello there. This is Wendy Hernandez with Command the Courtroom, and welcome to this interview with Dr. Sue Morter. Dr. Sue is the USA Today best-selling, number one best-selling LA Times, and number one Amazon best-selling author of The Energy Codes, the seven-step system to awaken your spirit, heal your body, and live your best life. Through the energy codes, Dr. Sue provides techniques to activate untapped energy and neuro-circuitry. I can't say it. You're going to help me say it, Dr. Sue.
Sure.
Circuitry in the body, empower hidden potential, and become one's true essential self. Welcome to the show, Dr. Sue, and thank you for joining me.
Oh, absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here. So, what we're talking about is building circuits. So it's circuitry. I know sometimes the mouth is like, it won't do what it's supposed to do.
Totally. Yeah, did want to say that word. Okay,
No problem.
awesome. Awesome.
We'll
So
just say connection, neuro connection. Okay,
thank
how's
you.
that?
Thank you.
There's
That's
always an
awesome.
answer.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
So, we were talking offline for just a couple minutes about a lot of the viewers to this show. And, many of the viewers are going through contested family court proceedings, whether they be divorces or custody proceedings. A lot of my viewers find themselves, in difficult financial situations. Maybe they're drained of all their money. Their ex-partner took the money. They're paying all their money to lawyers, but they're just in dire financial straits. A lot of them feel like their relationship is in ruin. They have a terrible relationship with the ex-partner, which is affecting the relationship with the children. Some of my viewers have mental health issues or are dealing with somebody that has a mental health issue or physical issue themselves. And a lot of them may have problems connecting to their children because of what's going on with their family court proceedings. So these are some of the biggest problems people can encounter. And I'm hoping that you can help viewers and help me, because I know you're going to help me with some of the challenges I have in my life, move from a different place, of thinking that these challenges are insurmountable or overwhelming to a place where they can see the light. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Well,
where do we start?
okay. Well, let me just say right away that I'm by origin, my profession is as a clinician. I was very interested in my clinic, of course, in getting outcomes and results for healing. Usually people came originally for physical health healing, but we found that emotional health actually generates physical health. So if we have unresolved emotional stuff, it ultimately leads its way into physical symptoms and a breakdown of our overall well-being. So our emotions are truly found to be the most important thing to learn how to master and to manage. And I'm working with doing that with people from a quantum science bioenergetics standpoint. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about what's going on. When we experience things emotionally that we don't know what to do with, that something's overwhelming, something has come out of the blue, or something's been building for a long time and we don't know how to deal with it, and it's eventuating itself into the lives of what you're describing, people having all these types of circumstances going on. What's happening is emotional energy is occurring and we don't know what to do with it. So it just gets stuffed behind in our pockets. It gets stuffed, underneath the rug and that type of thing. And when enough of that culminates, we end up not being able to handle what's going on because the energy that gets consumed by all this energy that's stuck in our pockets, this unresolvedness is back there under the skin in the back of our mind and so forth. And what happens is it's stealing our energy that is keeping us from being able to move forward and to be able to move forward with grace or with strength or with compassion or with communication skills that we know we have, but we get in the presence of this one person or this situation and it blows our circuits and we operate in a way differently than we really want to be operating. And all of that is addressable. All of it is something that is resolvable. And that is basically the work that I do, is teaching people how to access this energy that's pocketed and that's swept under the rug without having to understand where it got started, but rather to just work with it and to work with it in the here and now in a way that it actually becomes empowering to us instead of being the exact thing that shuts us down. And it does have the ability to have this opposite impact. I teach courses with people for this very purpose, to really walk them through the details of how to do that. But today we can work with some simple things that people can do in moments where they feel themselves doing that. They feel themselves adding to what's swept under the rug, or they feel themselves being controlled by what's already been swept under the rug, or that's been, held in their pockets forever. And what we can do to stabilize in those moments. We're so used to actioning from a place of guarded protectiveness. By the time we end up in a place where we need attorneys, or we need some kind of major shift that's happening, and we need advice, and it's kind of reeling out of control, by the time that's happening, what I'm describing has already been in place for a while, and it's starting to take its toll. So it's important for us to realize that energy is flowing through our bodies all the time in a certain pattern. And if it's allowed to flow in the pattern that it's designed to be flowing in, then we show up strong and clear, and we're not impacted by things that have happened already, and that we're not afraid, and we're not just engaging in this whole fight or flight type of mode of function. And when that energy takes on a different flow, because we're shut down and locked into this defense, fight or flight state, then it perpetuates itself. So let me just show you an image. So I have this image that I was just teaching with just the other day. Let me see if I can just hold this up here. So here is the way that energy is supposed to be flowing through our system. It's supposed to flow from overhead down and hit the earth, and then rise up through the body and cycle around the outside of the body, and then come back in and cycle and cycle and cycle. When it's happening that way, we're healing, and we're moving forward with strength and clarity. We're making decisions. We're accepting those decisions. Those decisions are working for us because we're making those decisions for all the right reasons in all the right times. And here's what most people are experiencing instead. That energy comes down through us and hits the earth and starts to rise back up. And instead of being able to rise straight up and express itself in the way that we saw here, it is circumventing all the ways that we've been upset before, and the ways that we've shut down, and the arguments and the fights and the questions and the abuses and the abandonments and everything that we've experienced in our lives, even before this particular relational situation has gotten out of control. Usually the things that have contributed to these moments actually started years ago. And we were highly functional, or at least good at outrunning it, or good at keeping it swept under the rug. But here's the thing to realize. The soulful self, the true self, doesn't want it to be swept under the rug or stuck in your pockets. It doesn't want that. It wants you to be cleared and clean and powerful and robust and highly functioning in the world. So all these things that we're circumventing, that were generated by shutdowns and shutdowns and shutdowns, they have to be processed. They have to be opened up and flowing. So when we start to breathe in our body, it has a tremendous impact on starting to move the energy through these areas in a way that the energy isn't moving automatically unless we bring consciousness to it. And because in moments where we were abandoned or abused or something went wrong, we had reactions and we shut down. And now the energy has to circumvent that. And it creates a wobble in the energy field, which creates a distortion in the flow. So now this person is standing inside this energy field and looking out through a distorted pattern. And they see a world that doesn't care, and a world that's inadequate, and that they're inadequate in, and a world that's not loving, and they don't see a way to have it change because of the distortion that they're looking through. So what we're working with is learning how to clarify this wobble so that the distortion can be corrected and we can start moving back toward this. So no matter what your circumstances are on the outside in your life, what matters is how you are engaging and what you are creating even above and beyond how you're reacting to these things. So it's important that we react and respond to life in an effective manner. But what's even more important is that we realize we're here to create the life that we want to be living, not just become a better reactor to what's being co-created by people around us and circumstances in the outer world, etc. It's so important that we learn that. Now, there's one other little point that I'd like to make here, and then we can see where you want to take this conversation.
For sure.
But I want everyone to realize that you are a soulful presence on this planet. You are. And you've been using your personality as best you can to make decisions and to take care of things the best you could and to survive and to do all these things. The mind has been making these decisions and it creates this life. And underneath all of that drama and trauma, there is this soulful presence that's still sitting there. And the whole idea is that this mind is supposed to carve a way for us to, as a soulful presence, get out into the world and have a life. But if the mind gets so tangled up in defending and protecting and reacting, it never really gets around to allowing this soulful presence to birth itself out into the world. So here's what I'd like to inject into the conversation. Everything that is happening in your life is happening for a reason. There's a reason before it, and it actually is a supportive reason. Even though it feels like this is anything but supportive, and this is crazy, and I've run out of money, and I've run out of patience, and I've run out of love, and I don't know what to do, and it's taking its toll on me. What that toll is doing is driving you back inward for an opportunity of your mind to find your true soulful self. So these circumstances that are so challenging could actually be in place for you to find a version of yourself that perhaps you haven't been in contact with ever, or maybe decades since abuse or abandonment occurred early in your life, or the challenge of you having to do everything. Maybe a parent was absent and you had to step up and be the one that took care of things, or all sorts of scenarios unfold that eventuate themselves into exploding because our way of adapting back then worked for the moment, but it isn't good enough for us for the rest of our lives. And so something's got to give. So relationships that maybe were built on fear or bargaining or trying to do the best that we could, or over delivering or over giving or over trying, maybe they're falling apart. I don't know, but maybe they're disassembling because it wasn't ever going to serve you on a soulful level, the way that your soulful essence really wants to live while it's here on this planet. It's possible that what's happening is a divine gift incognito, in camouflage. And so the ways that we can begin to make the best of it might actually be honing and harnessing a part of us that under any other set of circumstances, we'd have never come to know. This part of us way down in here that is only accessible when the efforts of the personality just are wearing out. They're just failing. It's just not working. So it's possible that the failing of something is actually the opportunity of a birthing of something more profound, better for our big picture life, and more allowing of what we came here to actually ultimately experience. So I'm going to stop there and see where you'd like to take the conversation.
That was just beautiful, and I'm riveted by everything that you're saying. And and I see, just to kind of reflect what I'm hearing, you have a Buddha there in the background, and I remember hearing a story, and I don't know exactly the story, but at some point that there somewhere, and I don't even know where, there were these Buddhas that were discovered that were golden, but they were covered by mud, but they were gold. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes, absolutely.
And maybe you know that more about that than I do, which is
Yes, I can't remember the country or where or when this was, but the Buddhas were covered to protect them. It had to do with when the Crusades were going around the world and gold was being stolen for the use just by the people who were, in the name of God, they were, correcting for all these different gods that were being honored and serviced and prayed for. And so Actually, I think the gold was just being taken. So these Buddhas were covered with mud to protect them so that they didn't look to be as valuable as they were. And so this is kind of what the personality is doing in a way, not intentionally, but it is cloaking a version, a golden version of us that is within. It's cloaking it. And until we peel away or chunk away at this, we never really get to the true golden value that we are in this life. And so it's so important for us to realize that the happenings in life are actually peeling away these other layers of who we grew to think ourselves to be in our attempts to make things work or to do the right thing or to be a good person or to earn our way in the world. And it's falling apart. It's disassembling because it isn't the truth. It isn't the whole truth. And what we were living wasn't really good enough for us. Even if in this moment it feels to you like you don't really want this thing to be happening that's happening. You didn't ask for it. It's the other person or the other people or some situation that is tearing this apart. If we understand this one cosmic law that is truly a universal truth, that the universe is operating in your favor, and there are never any exceptions to that. And if we can embrace that, and I write about this in my book, The Energy Codes, that if we can embrace that the universe is operating in your favor and that there are no exceptions to that, then we will start to become curious. And the subconscious will start to investigate and inquire about peeling away these layers of mud and getting underneath it. It will start to become curious, and the more it's curious, the more the answer reveals. The answers reveal to the true questions that we're asking, as long as those questions are in alignment with our highest good. And I don't mean to say, like God is overwatching and that kind of, I'm not like this to be a religious conversation. I just mean that the universe is literally, here's how it works. I'll just share another image with you.
Please, yes.
Okay, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right?
Totally.
So we are made of the universe, okay?
Yeah.
So there's no way that the universe could be out of your favor. So here's how it works. We look at this cosmic universe, that we are actually compressed energy, that when you compress the energy of the unified field of consciousness and you compress it and compress it and compress it and compress it and compress it, it eventually becomes physical form. Now, this is the law of physics. It's not this esoteric idea. Everything physical, the chair that someone is sitting in, the computer screen or the whatever the screen is that you're watching right now, it's made of compressed energy. And so is your body, and so are you. You are energy that is compressed into physical form. All physical form is compressed energy, period. That's a law of the laws, okay? So if we start to unpack that, we realize that we are energy, and that if you unpack it enough and just keep decompressing and decompressing, eventually that energy becomes the energy of the universe. So this is what this image is showing us, that if we decompress it and unpack it, this is us. So to reverse that process, the universe is compressing and compressing and compressing itself, and it's descending and descending and descending all the way to the earth. And then it turns and rises up again, and it cycles around and around and around and around, and it's constantly being replenished by more that's coming in. It's constantly hitting the earth and being stepped down for our own use, which is why Mother Nature is so important to us. To spend time in nature, to rejuvenate and replenish, is because we're tapping this and drawing it up into our system and allowing it to be a very real part of us. And so we are the universe. So we're just the universe packed into a human system. And if we can start to wrap our minds around that, then it becomes a little easier to realize the idea that the universe is always operating in your favor. You are the universe trying to express here in this physical body, in this life, in a way that is in flow, that is allowing the divine truth, the highest truth, the best possible outcome to happen in your life. It's always trying to happen. And as we start to align with that, then we realize that the circumstances that we're in right now in our lives, they're also happening in our favor. And our job is to embrace it instead of resist it. Because when we start resisting it, we start resisting the power of the universe that's trying to operate through this system. And it's futile. I mean, the resistance is futile, right? You can't resist enough to ever change the fact that you're made of this amazing power and this incredible force that is trying to express through your life. And when we surrender to that and let it be true, we realize that, wow, this this thing that I thought, I know that everybody that's watching could actually think of a time in your life where you thought that this other thing that was happening was horrible and it was the worst thing and it was never going to work in your favor. And now you look back on it and you're like, wow, that actually turned out pretty good. I'm actually stronger. I know who I am more. Now I'm speaking as a person who's been abused and abandoned and all those things that's happened in
Wow.
my life. And I look back on them now and I'm actually grateful for them. I'm
Wow.
grateful for them because they started me on a journey of being able to discover who I really am, that golden Buddha underneath. It
Exactly.
started me on the journey. And without that, I might not have ever looked. I might not have delved in. It might not have ever occurred to me that there was another version of me waiting back there to be birthed into this world that is so much more empowered and so connected and so available as a healing presence for my own life and for the lives of other people. So I now know that anything that happens in my life, it's also going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those things that shows me even more of my true power, my magnificence, and getting to know who that really is happens through these trials and tribulations. It doesn't have to happen through a challenge and a difficult time. I'm just saying that when difficult times are happening, it's trying to direct us into this thing I'm talking about.
Does this apply even to, for example, cancer or some sort of disease, that could be fatal?
When we stop resisting our magnificence, we start healing. Cancer and chronic degenerative diseases are a byproduct of resistance of something.
Mm.
They are it's been said in quantum studies that cancer is the condition of suppressed anger. That we've been angry at the abuse or the abandonment or at God or at life or at ourselves or at someone or something for too long. And that fire that gets generated and doesn't get integrated starts burning up the cells and the cells start collapsing. And the next thing you know, we're in this rampage running out of control systemically.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so, that's a lot to wrap around. And what I don't want that to do is to create guilt inside of someone like, oh my
Right.
God, I brought this on myself.
Right.
But I do want to say this, that anything that was generated by unresolved emotion can be ungenerated. It can be done over. It can be shifted and changed. And I've worked with tens of thousands of people that have had chronic degenerative diseases of one sort or another. And in the process of them realizing, oh my God, it's true. It's true. I've been angry. I thought I was angry about the cancer, but I was actually angry before the cancer. I thought I was angry at my husband who would never listen or would never, but I actually was angry before my husband. I thought I was angry at my parent who was, who was ignoring or denying or abusive in some way. And maybe it started there, and maybe it even started sooner than that. So, we have the ability, and the coursework that I teach teaches people how to investigate that. Where did it begin? And how can I get in touch with it? And how can I start to breathe it into a different expression of myself? Because ultimately, that anger was just us trying to fight for us. And we
Got it.
didn't have another way of doing it. We didn't know how. And there are so many ways that we can learn to work with that energy that dissolve the anger without suppressing it, because that suppressed anger just leads to problems.
Agreed. Okay. That's thank you for that. That helps. So I'm wondering, and I know you have a whole body of work, and of course I want to encourage people to buy your book and check out your website and your programs. Do you have some simple tools that you can share with people during this program about how they can start to, recognize that golden Buddha and start to harness that energy and work with it instead of against it?
You bet. So one of the things that happens immediately when we get into a defensive state is we start breathing in our upper lobes of our lungs. And when we breathe in our upper lobes of our lungs, it accentuates the defensive, guarded, protective state. You just watch. The next time you're upset, your breathing is going to get shallow. You're going to get tight up in here, and the shoulders are going to do, and the lips are going to purse, and the jaw is going to lock down, and the back's going to get stiff, and All sorts of things happen physiologically. So if we can work with changing the physiology, it will change the emotional state that corrected it or that created it. We can correct for it by working backwards, by retro engineering our attention. So when we drop the shoulders and we lean back against our own spine and we start breathing in our belly, it starts to draw the breath down again into the body in a way that allows us to be in a state of well-being, in a state of peace and joy, even though something's going on in the outside that would be eliciting all sorts of different responses. In that moment, if you can start belly breathing instead of getting up in here, you will find yourself responding differently. The moment our attention comes up into the upper half of the body, we lose touch with our wisdom, with our connection to the earth, our groundedness, and our integration, and our ability to stay calm. We get up in here into fight or flight, and the rest is history. It's just no good for us. It's no good for our health. It's no good for our interactions, and our relationships suffer because of it. Breathe in your belly. When we inhale, take a belly breath, and your chest doesn't move. Take an inhale, big belly breath. Don't breathe in your chest. Breathe below your diaphragm in your belly. So let's all inhale, and the belly will get really big, like a big Buddha belly. Okay? Big Buddha. Inhale and exhale.
Where am I exhaling from? The nose, the mouth?
The mouth. I'm sorry, the nose. In and out of the nose only. In and out of the nose only. Okay? Inhale through the nose, big belly. It draws the breath all the way to the lower lobes of the lungs. They are innervated with more nerve endings that calm you down and more blood vessels to bring oxygen into the bloodstream faster. So inhale, lower lobes, and exhale up and out through the nose again. Inhale through the nose all the way down to your belly. Draw it down into your belly. And exhale up through the body and out the nose. Inhale through the nose. Draw it all the way down into the belly. Drawing it down into the belly. You see my shoulders aren't moving.
I see that.
I'm going to breathe wrong. Okay, here's how to not do it, everybody.
Okay.
Here's how to not do it.
Okay.
Inhale.
Right.
Exhale. Like a soldier.
Yeah.
The reason they have soldiers breathe that way is because breathing this way elicits fight or flight. And a soldier needs to be ready to fight. So they breathe them that way. They teach them to breathe that way. So you want to reverse that? Draw it down. You don't have to fight a fight. You do not have to fight a fight. If people tell you before you go into that meeting with your attorney or before you go into the courtroom and you do this thing, take a big breath. If you take a big breath this way, it's not going to work in your favor.
Got it.
You're going to get reactive. You're going to get, into the performance and into the who's right and who's wrong. And instead, if you walk in as a loving, wise being, you're not going to get walked on. You're going to be the one who makes sense to the judge or to the jury. You're going to be the one that they can relate to, that has compassion. You're going to be cultivating this wisdom. And that's going to always, always, always work in your favor. Breathe in your belly. Inhale through your belly. Okay, that's going to help. Now let me see if I can find something here that is another image. I don't know if I don't have quick access to it. So I'm going to just teach it to you without the picture. I know you can handle it. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. If you will, take an inhale from above your head, just like this image that we were looking at here. Take a breath from above your head as if you're drawing all this help right down into your system, all of this right down into your system. Okay, so take a breath as if you had a hole in the top of your head, like a whale and a blowhole, and just breathe in. It'll make sense in just a minute. Breathe in through the center of your brain, through the center of your chest, and through your belly, all the way into your belly. Big belly breath. Now exhale and shoot that breath right down into the earth. Now take a breath up from the earth, right up through the tip of your spine, into the belly. Just feel like Mother Nature is just holding you. And then exhale that up through your heart, up through your throat, up through the center of your brain, and exhale it out the top of your head. And now inhale right down through the top of your head. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. It'll help anchor you in your body. And breathe all the way to your belly. And then exhale, breathe it right down into the earth. Then inhale up from the earth again. Squeeze your shoulder blades together and drop them down. It anchors you even more in the heart and in your wisdom. And then exhale up through the belly, up through the throat, up through the center of your brain, and out the top of your head. Now that's called a central channel breath. Breathe in and out through your nose only. And by doing so, when you breathe in and out through your nose, the air picks up speed through the turbinates in your sinuses and propels it to the lower lobes of your lungs. It allows you to activate that deep wisdom and the part of the nervous system that calms you down. When you belly breathe, you keep your cool. When you chest breathe, you lose it. When you belly breathe, you keep your cool. Inhale and exhale through your nose so that you can stay present with what matters most. What matters most is that I can have open communication and ask for what I want, and that I can tolerate listening to what someone else says, even if it's not true, even if what they're saying is completely twisting reality as you see it. You start breathing in your belly. You squeeze your shoulder blades together and you drop them down. And as a byproduct, one more thing I want to add, and this one's a little more to learn, but oh my God, does it serve in such a huge, huge way. We have to be anchored down in our wisdom center. Your wisdom center is below your navel. Everything above your chest is fight or flight material. Okay, we want to stay in our wisdom and keep our cool and be present and be the one who speaks with sanity when somebody else is going crazy across the room from us. Okay,
Yeah.
So in that moment, we want to stay low in our body. So by squeezing our shoulder blades together and dropping them down, it helps cultivate all this energy and pull it down into the body. And there's something we can do to pull it down and anchor it even more. It's an ancient Eastern practice that's called Mula Bandha. You don't have to know the name to be able to do it, okay? It's called Mula Bandha, but you don't have to know the name to be able to do it. So if you've been going to the bathroom and you've ever had to stop the stream quickly, you have to squeeze certain muscles to do that. Just want you to squeeze them right now. Just everybody who's watching, just squeeze those muscles. Like you were going to the bathroom and you're like, oh, phone's ringing, or I got to go do this thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Just stop it right now. Stop it. Squeeze those muscles. That is part of an ancient practice called Mula Bandha. And what it does is it instantly helps by pulling all of your consciousness into this part of your body. So when you squeeze that and then you belly breathe, you're going to feel this resistance, and that's okay. I want you to feel the resistance, because when you feel that resistance, your subconscious now knows where you are. It's like, oh, there I am. I'm right down there in the wisdom center area. I got my cool, no problem. I'm going to answer this question before I roll up here into my head and say something stupid that I'm going to regret. I'm just going to keep it down here, keep it low in the body so that I can keep it together. Okay.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So here's what's happening. You do this, you're driving down the road and you're super upset about what's going on in your life right now. And you're all up in the story and you've got it and you feel the tension, the jaw and the shoulders and all that's crunching down. All right. Just squeeze your shoulder blades, drop them down, and then contract Mula Bandha at the base of your spine in the pelvic bowl. By contracting those muscles, here's what's going to happen. You instantly start thinking differently. Instantly. You can't even get as upset as you were a minute ago, because your energy is drawing your consciousness down into this deep wisdom center below the belly button, below the navel. And when we're breathing down in there, we're setting all those energies free to be part of our decision-making process, to be part of our dialogue, to be part of our thoughts. So everything starts to change. And we remember who we are. And we remember there's a divine purpose to everything that's going on here. And I'm going to ride that wave. Because when I ride that wave, I've got grace on my side. And when I resist what's going on, I'm cutting off the universal flow and saying, no, it's not supposed to be this way. Apparently, it's supposed to be this way. How do we know? Because it's this way. Apparently, this thing is supposed to be happening. How do we know? Because it's happening. And so it doesn't mean that we can't shape-shift it and change it and get outcomes that are looking better than things are looking right now. But first things first, we have to come from a place of wisdom and keep ourselves together in these moments.
Thank you so much. That's such amazing advice. And I can't wait to try some of this for myself. And I'm sure there's a ton more in your book and in the programs you have available. Absolutely. Is that right, Dr. Sue?
Absolutely. The book is awesome. Full of practices. It's about making it all user-friendly. That's the point, right? It's the point. I'm a clinician. I'm a doctor. I'm interested in results and outcomes. And so I give examples in the book of outcomes and things that people turned around that they didn't see that they could possibly, or that they were told they couldn't. And step by step, people learn how to master this thing called energy that is who and what they truly are. Yeah.
Oh, So it's so exciting to me. It's interesting. I'm curious about it, and I want to take a closer look for myself. And I know that it's going to help the viewers who need to hear this. I mean,
Yep,
everybody needs to hear it. But
absolutely. I really want people to know that they're not broken, even though it feels like some part of life is breaking apart. It's not breaking like broken and damaged. It's a break in, it's a break
Mhm.
open that's happening. And it's allowing us to step into another version of life that we would have never known if these things hadn't happened. I've lost relationships and loved ones and felt like everything was falling apart. But then I had this huge opening, and I had an exalted experience, an enlightenment type of experience in meditation that it just changed everything. I just saw that all of this that's happening it's in our favor. It's really a project that we're in, that we're trying to wake ourselves up to our true magnificence. And if we were headed down a path full steam ahead and thought that's was where we were supposed to be, and it's falling apart, then it wasn't real. It wasn't the biggest, realest, deepest version of us, and it wasn't going to do us justice. And so what's trying to happen now is a course correction and an evolution. It's trying to lift us up into a higher version of who we are. And if we stop resisting it, it will do that. The nature of the universe is it wants the evolution to happen for all of humanity, including every single one of us. And there are just no exceptions to that. So
Right.
as we embrace that, it starts to get to be true in our lives too.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful, Dr. Sue. Thank you so much. How can people find you?
I'm pretty easy to find. I've got a YouTube channel, and I've got a website that shows you how to navigate into all kinds of courses that I teach, and I have lots of free online content, and I have deep, deep studies that people are welcome into, introductory courses all the time that people can find. So the website is drsuemorter.com, drsuemorter.com, and you come in there, and if you sign in, you get a free meditation and all sorts of things that I'm trying to do. I have free short answers every month that I come on to Facebook Lives and do, and all sorts of ways for people to engage. So
Oh,
it's all there for you.
oh, thank you so much. Thank you for your great work that you're doing in this world. Thank you for helping us.
It is my greatest pleasure. It's my joy. I had this awakening, and ever since then, the single most important thing in my life was I have to share this. I have to share this with people. I found who we really are, and I codified how to reproduce that for myself. And the moment that started to fall into place, I wanted to share it with people. I wanted everybody to be able to find this, no matter what was going
Mm.
on. And some of the most painful moments in my life contributed to that awakening. And so I want people to be able to flip that around for themselves too.
Oh, I know they will. I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And for all you out there watching, go check Dr. Sue out, buy the book, and I'll see you on the next episode. Until next time, remember to give this a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and get out there and command the courtroom. I'll see you next time.
Beautiful.